Hello, I'm Gavin Horgan, Headmaster of Millfield School in Somerset, the largest co-educational boarding school in the UK. Welcome to the Millfield Way Podcast. Here, you'll hear from teachers, coaches and students from Millfield and Millfield Prep School. Millfield is traditionally different, and this is the Millfield Way.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Millfield Way Podcast, in conversation with Millfield Prep's Assistant Director of Sport, Marc Gardiner. My name is Matt Davidson and I'm delighted to be joined by Marc. So Marc, how are you?
Yeah, all good. Definitely looking forward to the sun making an appearance on a more permanent basis, ready for the cricket coming up.
So before we get into your role at Millfield, if we just talk about sport, so where did your love for sport come from?
So I was born in South Africa and lived there for about 13 years. And over there, when you're born, you're basically given a rugby ball and a cricket bat at birth, and that's basically your teddy bear. So lived there till I was about 13. Then we moved to Wales, and then from Wales we moved to Gloucestershire. So I've actually been over here longer than South Africa, but that deep down in the heart is the South African element. But played lots of cricket, lots of rugby growing up. And then in Wales actually played to junior Welsh level as a schoolboy, but always knew I wanted to do something in sport. So very fortunate to end up at Millfield Prep.
So when it comes to international sport, who are you supporting?
It's a no-brainer.
Yeah?
And I've actually brainwashed the two boys as well, my two boys. South Africa is always ranked number one, and then Wales comes second, and England is down at the bottom.
So it's bragging rights at the World Cup then, was it?
Absolutely.
So you have got two children at Prep. So kind of how has that been for you working the school and seeing them go through the years?
Yeah, it's brilliant. I mean, both of them, this is kind of their little world. They've gone through from minis all the way through the pre-prep into the prep school. They love it. They absolutely love it. I mean, who wouldn't love it with the amount of sport on offer? And you can play sport before school, during school, after school. Yeah, no, they love it. And it's good seeing them grow up and mature with all the opportunities that they get. So, yeah, it's a great environment. So, yeah, they love it.
So you've got one in year 8 now.
Yeah.
And is the other in year 6, isn't it?
Year 6, year 8, yeah.
So they're kind of similar ages.
Yeah.
So is that quite nice for them to kind of entertain themselves with sport and they're competitive?
Yeah, and it's brilliant. I mean, you ask them every now and again, what's your favourite sport? And depending on what sport they're playing that term, or which 5 sports they're playing that term, it will change term to term. And I think that's the way it should be. They're loving it.
And so kind of your background in your career, so what roles did you have before you arrived at Millfield Prep?
So, as I said, South African right at the start. From South Africa, we moved to Wales and then England. And then I went to university and did my PGCE in Worcester, which is a great place, really nice place, small university, played a lot of rugby and so on. And then I got my first teaching job in Warwickshire at a boys' grammar school, senior school. And then both my wife is also a teacher. We both moved to Thailand, which was a great experience. We worked there for 2 years at an international school over there, and that was awesome. We travelled the whole, as both being teachers, you get a lot of time off. We travelled the whole of Southeast Asia, and then basically got told by the wife that we had to come back, settle down, and then the two boys arrived. And then we returned to, I actually came back to a tiny little prep school or independent school in Oxfordshire, which was a girls' school that was then going co-ed. So it was basically a blank canvas to get the boys' sport up and running, which was an awesome opportunity to do all of that. And then the opportunity to come to Millfield Prep opened up, and then been here for coming up to 13 years. So yeah, it's a good place to be.
So you've been here for 13 years. Did you arrive at Millfield Prep with the role of Assistant Director of Sport straight away, or did you have a different role and then gradually worked your way towards that?
Yeah, so originally it was almost being in charge of the boys' side of stuff. Worked really closely with Mr. Morgan Hughes as the Director of Sport. And then as some retirements had, there was kind of some changes in roles and so on. So it then almost merged into being assistant director of sport and helping out with the boys and girls games program. So yeah.
And so you're also the head of rugby now.
Yeah.
So what is that like? Could you talk about, because obviously it's a very popular sport at this school.
Yeah.
Recently went to Rosslyn Park Sevens as well, which is great to see them over there.
Yeah.
So yeah, could you give us an overview of the rugby offering?
Yeah, so I love it. And there's lots of stuff in the media at the moment and stuff about rugby. But, I mean, rugby is thriving at the school. It really is. We have a meeting in terms of talking about rugby. We have a meeting right at the start of the term because there's a lot of new boys that join in year 7 and 8 and girls. We have a meeting at the start and explain what Millfield Rugby is about. And we talk about the philosophy of what is success and so on. But and our view on what success is basically to see the boys and the girls developing their sport. The girls rugby is growing. There's a club every term. We try to have really tough fixture lists where they're challenged and they have to work hard. And actually that's where the development and progress comes, rather than just winning games. And encouraging the parents and the pupils on that journey, because that is, that's the way it should be, and that journey almost continues up into the senior school when they go into year 9 as well.
It was interesting, you said that when you arrived, you kind of overseed the boys' sport. How nice is it now, kind of 14 years down the line, that you've got girls and boys both playing rugby, both interested in it? Yeah,
it's great. The girls' rugby is at the starting phases of things, but it's great. It's brilliant to see so many girls playing at Rosslyn Park in the under 16s and under 18s at the senior school. I mean, it just sets up role models for the girls in the year 7s and 8s to aspire to be like them. So yeah, that's probably one of the most exciting aspects of rugby at the moment, is that girls program and getting those girls involved in playing.
Yeah. And so back to your career. So what inspired you to embark on a career in sport but also education?
Very late decision. I did my A-levels, all of that stuff, and then went to university and basically did a sports science degree, not really knowing what I wanted to do with it, but knew sport was something that I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it was only really in the last year of university, enjoyed coaching, enjoyed working with kids and helping them develop, and so naturally just went into that teaching. But actually, as I've did it more, your first job and so on, the joy of supporting someone to improve is almost addictive. Helping a year 1 pupil to understand how to hold their hands a little bit different and actually then find success in catching a ball, those type of things really, really motivate you. So, yeah.
A lot of people do say those moments where kind of it's the realisation of what you're teaching someone is then how you get better, and it clicks. It's almost like I can do it now.
Yeah,
and
definitely.
that feeling is what inspires you to keep going and keep pushing, isn't it?
Definitely. And I'd also say, actually, more than, I mean, it's great seeing them improve their skills and that type of thing, but when you actually connect with the pupils and start to help them develop their life skills, so that resilience, how do you do that? Well, sport's an awesome way of developing that. Seeing individuals take responsibility for their own half-time talk or change tactics because of what they see, and not rely on the coach or the teacher. That's what it's about, is developing those type of skills. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it was interesting. The next question I was going to say, do you have kind of a particular philosophy in terms of coaching and values that you try to instill in the pupils? But I guess you mentioned that resilience is one of them. Is there anything else that you try and kind of embed in your coaching?
Yeah, so I'll expand a little bit on the thing. One of the stories I said earlier on, that at the beginning of the year, all the year 7 and 8 boys, we will have a meeting with them, and that will be about what the philosophy is, what we think success is. So the first question will basically be, right, boys, what is success? So we want a successful year, obviously. What is that going to look like? And inevitably, normally one of the newer boys will put their hand up and say, we need to win all our games. And that's brilliant, because it tees up the whole thing. And you go, okay, brilliant. So I'll play my part in that, and I'll look at the fixture list, change it all so that we can definitely 100% know we're going to smash everyone and win 50-0, and then just be quiet. And then after 30 seconds or so, someone will put their hand up and go, well, actually, maybe that's not success. And then it starts a conversation of actually, what is success? And as a 12 or 11-year-old, winning is important. Of course it is. But should it be the number one priority? I would argue that probably not. And actually developing those skills, whether it be rugby, cricket, whatever, and actually developing those mental skills and, tactical skills are way more important than winning. And sometimes the 5-0, 10-5 loss is the one where you actually gain the most out of any fixture. That's definitely philosophy.
So it's turning that kind of the failure into success, isn't it? So even when things don't go right, or even not necessarily losing a game, but even if you are losing at halftime, kind of having the resilience and saying, right, come on, this is where we learn, this is where we improve.
And I think it's important as coaches and teachers sometimes to step back and let that happen organically, and sometimes we too easily jump in and to give them how to solve the problem, and sometimes that working through to solve the problem, that's the key.
Yeah. Well, so again, it's quite nice. It tees up to the next question about who do you work alongside in the sports department, specifically rugby, and are they on board? So as much as you have a meeting for the year 7 and 8 pupils, do you also have a staff meeting where you say, look, this is what we're doing this year, we need to make sure that they're taking responsibility?
Yeah, and I think that philosophy is definitely shared by Mr. Morgan Hughes as Director of Sport. There's been a definite shift in terms of what we see success as at the school in terms of sport. And actually, one of the most valuable thing when you look at it in terms of sport at school is how many of the pupils actually have an opportunity to play, and to not just play on a ad hoc basis, but regularly be playing sport. And building that base of everybody being able to play will only help later on as they move up for them to find their niche and so on. So yes, it definitely. But I work really closely in terms of rugby with Mr. Close, the deputy head.
Yeah.
And we've got a great relationship in terms of the first term doing the 13-a-side with the rugby with the under-13s, and then shifting to the 7-a-side in the second term. We work brilliantly together, and that philosophy of helping the pupils to learn for themselves and facilitating that is definitely something we share.
And is that something that, obviously, Mr. Close being kind of deputy head academic, is that something that he sees as beneficial to the classroom? So these kind of skills you're learning on the pitch, you then take into your lessons, you become independent.
Yeah, so I'm fortunate enough to be on the AIG, which is basically looking at how the teaching and learning in lessons, how we can develop that, how it impacts on different areas of the school. And the stuff that we do in sport, 100% can transfer into the classroom. And actually, in terms of talking about life skills, that's something that we definitely want to develop. We want to see pupils having the same resilience on a rugby pitch as we do in a maths class when they find stuff difficult. So yeah.
No, that's brilliant. And could you talk about the facilities on offer for rugby? So I know when you kind of walk around the prep campus, it's amazing when kind of the ground staff have been looking after the pitches, and there's so many pitches available. Could you kind of give us an overview of what is?
Yeah. So firstly, we are fortunate to probably have, we definitely have the best ground staff in the world. They are unbelievable.
Yeah.
And also, just not in terms of the care that they have for the pitches, but their philosophy of the pitches are there to be played on. So, when there's other stuff cancelled in the local area, they'd be going, crack on, get playing your game. That's what it's there for. Yeah. And we'll fix it afterwards. Yeah. So that is brilliant.
That mentality, isn't it?
Yeah. There's a great example where we played our Millfield Rugby Sevens tournament this term. And I think 2 of the other tournaments within that 2-week period were cancelled. But our ground staff said, crack on, do it, make a couple of adjustments, and then we'll fix it afterwards. And actually, the tournament was awesome. It was absolutely awesome. So, yeah. But, we've got, I think, 12 pitches in total, varying sizes from the year 3s to the year 8s. Very fortunate to have really good quality pitches for them to develop, and then also all the grids around the school which are dotted around for practice sessions. In terms of rugby, we're very, very, very fortunate.
And is there a link with the senior school as well, where the pupils are allowed to go up there to train and often learn from the older pupils?
Yeah, so Mr. Mallet up at the senior school, Mr. Gabatas, it's almost a journey. Well, it is a journey where the boys from year 3 and the girls from year 3 all the way up to year 8, it's not the end. It's kind of a continuing journey up into year 9 as well. So the stuff that we've talked about in terms of philosophy, that continues. It's the same up there. They're brilliant in terms of coming over and doing some of the sessions every now and again. Supporting our staff down over here. We've done some CPD stuff with them in terms of the staff down here and the staff up there. We make a point of this term, the squad that goes to Roslyn Park has a training session with a senior school group of boys that go up as well. And actually, when we were up at Roslyn Park, it was brilliant. The first team, which actually went on to win the competition, on the first day, we were there at the same time. We watched one of their games, and all of the lads, there was, I think, 3 or 4 of the boys from the prep school in the squad, called over all the prep school boys straight after their game, before any team talk or whatever, to have a photo together.
I was going to say, they had a nice photo, didn't they?
And then went and did their... And it's that kind of role model, without staff saying, go and do this, automatically happen. That's what you want to see.
Yeah, definitely. And I was going to say as well, for the pavilion, so kind of the middle of the school, and you can see all the pictures around. But I've also been to the pavilion when you've been reviewing footage.
Yeah.
So sometimes you record the games, and then you'll watch them back and kind of analyse what's happened and how to improve.
So especially with the year 8 boys, as they move into year 9 and so on, having that opportunity on a very basic scale to be reviewing themselves and reviewing the team, and then we share the videos with them so that they can actually look at it in their own time. And then times where they need a rest or a recovery period during a game session, it's an awesome opportunity to watch a game, talk about certain things, and actually together amongst themselves analyse things and say what needs to change. Well, talking about that word opportunity, so could you talk about what kind of all the pupils have to get in, the opportunities they have to get involved at rugby at the prep school? Yeah. So I'd say unrivaled opportunities. I mean, because everything it's child-centred, it's pupil-centred. You don't just, the tradition of having a block fixture of every single team playing exactly the same rules, and you just have your top boys on the top and top girls on the top pitches and so on. Those days are gone. We adapt the games to make it work for the pupils. So more and more now, there are games where it won't look like normal rugby, but they're still playing rugby with an element of touch instead of contact, or semi-contact, or a game where it's turned out very one-sided and you then mix teams, or you adapt the rules, or you make the success not tries but how many tackles you can complete successfully. And I think that flexibility is the key to making it an opportunity for everybody. We played triangulars with 2 or 3 schools coming, adapted rules, festivals, matches where we mix the teams, so making it work for whoever is there. And there will be the ones that want to go crash bang wallop with the opponents, and play, but there's others that don't want that, and making it right for the different pupils. So it's a sport for everyone, essentially. Absolutely.
And I have to mention it because I think it was the end of my first year working here. It was the tour to Dubai, which was kind of the first time I saw a trip like that at a prep school, and I was just kind of fascinated. So could you kind of go into that, and what was that experience like?
It's unreal. So that opportunity to go to a place like that is superb. We've done it a couple of times now, gone over to Dubai, and it's a great place, especially for under 13 rugby. The mix of the rugby, the tradition, the fun, is absolutely spot on, perfect. We had a really good test over there because the boys that we went over with were actually a very strong lot. This year, I think, was the current year 9s who went on to won Roslyn Park last week. And in that group of 12, there was actually 11 prep school boys. So pretty much a prep school team. But yeah, no, really tested over there for a very highly fancied team over there. Interesting playing in a different environment where the priorities of success is slightly different to ours, but really good atmosphere for the boys to be exposed to. And actually the biggest thing is they've built up memories together as a group of players, and that's what it's about.
I was going to say that's one thing, isn't it, is much the kind of the playing of the sport, but also the camaraderie and the experience as a group. And
they're going to be together for the next 5 years or so, playing rugby, maybe in different teams, but playing together as a school. So, building those memories important.
And I will talk about successes later on, but just to touch on what you said about it was the under-14 Roslyn Park winners, 11 of the 12
prep school
team
boys.
Prep school.
Yeah.
Is that one way of how you measure success? So kind of that.
Yeah, I'd say
it's a journey. They're in year 8, and to see them play at the senior school is you kind of saying, that's our job.
Yeah, 100%. Our job is to continue that journey. It's not to win lots of games. And it might be, success for us as well is when you go and watch a Bath game or you go and watch a Bristol game, and you see 3 or 4 of the boys that have gone through that system and have gone on to then make a decision for that to be their job. But also the success is when you look up in the 4 senior teams up at the senior school and you see actually every single one of the boys that have played rugby down at the prep school in year 8 are now still playing rugby, whether it be in the first team or, the D team. They're still enjoying
the sport.
But also very excited about the girls' rugby that I think is going to be such a success. It just suits itself to the amount of sport that the girls play, and they're so excited to be involved in it. So that's definitely something to be excited about. Yeah.
And so what support can the school offer to aspiring rugby players? So kind of the players that are the most dedicated, what can a week look like for them?
Firstly, I'd encourage them to play lots of sports. The multi-sport approach is something that we would, as a school, really support. Play as many different things as don't specialise too soon. Don't think about doing one thing. Especially rugby, it's such a late developing sport. There's examples of internationals currently that only started playing rugby as an 18-year-old. So, play lots of different sports, develop those motor skills, enjoy it. But saying that, the boys that love their rugby at school have the opportunity to play 2 game sessions a week, and then also play probably 2 matches most weeks, Wednesdays and Saturdays, or it will be a session like we've talked about where they're analysing themselves or analysing a team, doing a recovery session. And then to support that is all of the opportunities around athletic development at a lunchtime, improve your flexibility and so on, but also play lots of sports.
And what competitions do they play in?
We play lots of different teams, so we're flexible. So for example, we play a lot of local sides with our Bs and C teams against potentially their As and Bs. And more we've played a lot of Welsh state schools with the A teams, which brings its own challenges, which is brilliant. And then we've also played a lot of triangulars, so to go further abroad, teams up in Warwickshire, Oxfordshire and so on, meeting halfway and playing at a triangular in Bristol and Bath a lot of the times. Second term is where we enter quite a few sevens tournaments. So the year 7s have 4 different sevens tournaments that we enter, and the year 8s enter those 4 as well, plus also Roslyn Park, which is the national competition at the end.
And are any of those events ones that you look forward to?
Yeah, so the big one I would say is, and this has not been biased at all, but our Millfield Sevens tournament, it really is good fun. We get teams from all over the country, from York, And even further north, we've had Dubai College come over, lots of teams from Wales. And there is talk of potentially in the future a team from Kenya coming over as well. So it truly is. It's an international tournament. And that's for the year 7s and 8s, which is really, really, really good fun.
So Roslyn Park has just happened. So kind of what was that like?
Always amazing, always a great experience. In terms of this year, the rugby we played was okay. I wouldn't say it was our best rugby, but it was great fun. And to be fair, Roslyn Park is about making memories together. It's the last opportunity to be playing together as a prep school. I mean, the last game together was brilliant. The boys had their own little huddle, and and that's what it's about. And then it's things like in 15 years' time when they're sat in the pub and they have a chat about that. Can you remember that time at Roslyn Park? That's what it's about. So brilliant fun.
Oh, good. And I remember that. So I saw a video on social media as well where in the dining hall we had it up on the TV when they were playing. Was it the final game?
Yeah. So no, this is that was the 18s.
Was that the 18s?
Yeah. So the first team playing, and that was basically the whole prep school at dinner. We had it on the TV, and it was just Sporting, it was amazing.
Yeah,
superb.
But you talk about that kind of role model inspiration. Yeah. That's where it comes from, isn't it?
100%.
You watch the older students competing, and you're like, that's where I want to be, or it'd be nice to do that one day.
100%.
Millfield is a school, and therefore academics are a priority. So how would you ensure that balance is there from sport commitments and then academic?
Yeah, definitely. This is critical, but not for rugby, but for all the sport. The amount that they play, the possibility of going through the rounds and having to play cup fixtures and so on, they are going to miss school time. They are going to miss academic time. But saying that, when they miss school, there's always opportunities to catch up. So it might be to miss a PE session or to miss a game session and use that time to catch up.
Okay.
Also giving the boys and the girls the opportunity to start taking a little bit of independence of, have you all contacted your teachers? Have you got the work to catch up? And some will need some more support than others to do that. But it's definitely something that, it's a learning experience of doing that as well. So it's helping them to do that.
Yeah. And are there any successes kind of across the department that you're particularly proud of during your time here?
I'm not going to pull out anyone individually. Like I said, it's such a late developing sport. It could be the boys or the girls that are in the B team but love it and keep playing it and eventually it clicks when they're 19, 20 or whatever. But this year particularly, Roslyn Park, looking back for both the prep school and the amount of players in the teams that have gone on to play this last week that are from the prep school, that's what it's about. Seeing how many of those are still playing at a really good level, and the 14s and 18s winning their competition, the 18s seconds winning the bowl, the girls getting to the semis and the finals. It just unbelievable. And it just confirms that what we're doing and building that base and providing so many opportunities is the way to do it.
So the final question. So if you could sum up rugby or sport at Millfield Prep in 3 takeaways, what would they be? Okay.
Trust the school. Trust that the school will support and facilitate the players' development. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah.
And success isn't necessarily winning as an 11-year-old or going unbeaten as a 12-year-old or whatever it is. It's a marathon. It's never going to be linear. It's going to be progress that it goes up and down. And actually the times where it goes down or it plateaus, that's probably the times that they're learning the most.
Yeah.
But we have great support from the parents. They know that. We do lots of stuff with them to help them to come along that journey with us. So that's a long one, but that's number one. Sport's a tool. It's a tool to mould people and mould pupils. We're not all going to be Olympians, and they're not going to all be Olympians, but become a good human being.
Yeah.
And that can be done through playing sport. And then finally, have loads and loads and loads and loads of fun.
Yeah.
You're still kids. Enjoy it. That should be what you're worrying about. You've got lots of time later on to worry about all the adult stuff. Enjoy it. Have loads of fun.
Perfect. So we've got kind of trust the school process, sport as a tool and making sure you're having fun.
100%.
Perfect. Well, what a great way to end the podcast. I hope you've enjoyed it, Mark.
Yeah, definitely.
Good stuff. And I hope the listeners have enjoyed this episode of the Millfield Way Podcast. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye-bye.